So I wanted to start this video by saying, so I had my camera about 4 weeks or so. I was headed to Engage, had all these interviews planned, and I first day got to interview Lindsey and Cherish Conklin, who are dear friends. You'll hear more about them in a second. And I was off to the first session, had a water bottle in my tote bag, and come to find out my camera ended up sitting in about this much water, killing off not only the screen, but some of my storage that was on the card that I had in there. So I was like, Earth, what are you telling me? But here we are. I think you're gonna love Lindsey and Cherish. They are one of the highlights of 2017 for me, getting to know them better. We've been on boats together. We've done galas together. We've explored together. And I've just loved them from the very start. And today we're gonna be talking about how they're working together, what their story is, and how they make things work in Southern California. I'm pretty sure they're gonna take over the film world in this industry. They are excellent and epic and unstoppable. Good morning. I am in Austin's airport and it is 4:30 a.m. and I am on my way to Engage. So there seriously is no better place on earth than Nizuc. And it's really quiet right now because Engage has the whole entire hotel as a buyout. I'm curious to know like how and when you like made the decision that like let's do this together. Oh, because I feel like who was like the passion person who was like I think this is it, and then how did that like dynamic kind of shape into where you guys are right now?
Well, I think we started it together. It just kind of evolved together, but we definitely had like different moments where one was probably more passionate than the other. Right?
The yin and the yang.
I think
so.
We started this before we got married, actually.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had done video editing and stuff, and so had she, and a friend of ours took some video of their friend's wedding and gave it to me to like put something together. So when we were trying to get married and we had no money and we're like, hey, how are we gonna pay the bills? It was like, well, what if we filmed weddings on the side, you know, to kind of supplement and help us kind of get started.
And you were like, we like this anyway, so why wouldn't we kind of throw it out there and see how people respond to us making this a service?
Exactly. Both of us were kind of like growing up were the ones in our families that were in charge of the family movies. So
the video
like,
camera.
The video camera. Which you're not good to look back on, but
I usually used it for like stop motion, like animation Lego videos, you know.
I use it as blackmail to my siblings. So yeah, it was definitely something that we both like kind of loved doing at a very early age, but it still was kind of a hobby. Like when we first started it wasn't like, oh, let's grow this business, and it was like just a little extra money on the side kind of a thing. And then I was doing like real estate inspections, like the normal 9 to 5, driving around, and then we got pregnant, and I'm like, I can't do this with a baby. So we're like, let's see what we can do with the videos. And
so do you feel like there was a moment where you're like, okay, we're gonna put 100% of everything into this, and like
that was definitely the moment.
That was that moment. Yeah, I borrowed money and we invested in all the equipment and infrastructure.
Which I feel like for videographers, like you actually, it is a little bit more of an upfront cost versus some of the other pros in our industry.
Yeah, and there's a different way to do it. Like I know people that have done it more gradual, like they started with just a camera and then like very slowly built their equipment. But for us, we like we talked about earlier, if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it right. So we just kind of like...
And you knew what you needed to like get the job done in the way that you were.
Yeah, because we were renting before that, right? We were renting equipment before. So
how did you guys decide how to charge for your services, like initially? Like how was that kind of, did you ask around, or was it like, this isn't what we're worth? Or tell me like how you came to that.
Yeah, I think just kind of asking around, and obviously we started probably way too low.
Like
that would
we all
be
do.
if I could go back in time The one thing, if I could talk to young Lindsey and Cherish, mostly me though, because I was probably more hesitant about it. Like, we could have been charging a lot more from the beginning, and sooner. But it's always kind of scary because you get in the flow and you're making money,
and you want the business.
Yeah, and you want the business. So there's always that like fear of, if we raise our prices, what are we doing to ourselves? But we've learned, we learned too late that we could have charged a lot more than what we were charging in the beginning.
I think my first invitation suite that I designed fully custom, I charged $30 for the design. I'm like, what was I? How did I even add that up? Like, what was I? And where did I come up with that number? And like, if I would have told myself then too, I would have been like, you charge what? Yeah. But in a way that's like, when you actually do think about like the value you're providing, the time. Right. I think the time is like something that just.
So how many cents per hour did you make on that design?
Less. I was probably in the negative, but I really was excited about it. Yeah. No, I do think pricing is really huge and something also to like reevaluate over time.
Constantly, I think people should always be looking at themselves and being educated on what everybody else is charging too, because you kind of want to know where you are ballpark, and just have faith in yourself and your product. Like, if you're putting your heart and soul into it, you should be reflecting that. With
we've learned now that we don't want to be the cheapest, in the room. We're not trying to get undercut other people to get business. We're confident.
So tell me about how you guys have delegated your roles within the company. Like, is one of you more left brain, one of you more right brain, and you're like, clearly you're more on the financial side, clearly you're more on the creative side. Is that kind of how it works out for you? Because I feel like those dynamics, I can't imagine. I mean, I've worked with my husband a little bit, but like, but you definitely have to be like a whole team, So how did you guys determine who does what?
You kind of like get a feel for what each other's strengths are, and most of our strengths are very opposite of each other. So it works out really well. Like, I do the financials. I'm more the A-type personality, spreadsheets and all that.
She's very organized.
She's very
organized. I, on the other hand, am not.
But he's also better, like, in terms of the techie side, like the equipment. Anytime we purchase anything, it's him. He loves doing research on things. I absolutely hate doing research on things. And so as far as like shooting and equipment, that's more him. And then I'm more passionate and obsessed. Relationships. I, handle the couples, and I love building on that relationship. And the editing is like,
where are you?
My favorite thing to do. If I could just.
So is that a collaboration, the editing process?
No.
Okay. Because I feel like that's because I feel like you're telling a story from a perspective, and I feel like that would be really challenging to like blend both of your vision, like.
Yes.
So you just trust
Cherish to just do it.
Cherish has done the editing for pretty much since the beginning.
Yeah.
And
anytime he says something, it's never a good situation. Like, maybe you should do this. No. You're like, no.
I've learned what I can say and can't say, because she's very passionate about it. It's
a creative thing. So it's like when someone doesn't like a painting you paint, then it's heartbreaking. So if he needs to make changes, which sometimes, obviously there are certain things that I want him to, review before we post or things like that, I have to leave the office. I can't sit there and watch it.
She's like, my blood's boiling right now.
So I make the changes when she's gone.
Yeah. So who decides music?
Me.
She does.
Okay. Yeah. And do you feel like that's something that you like you're like, this is the genre and like this is it, like when you're starting to piece it together?
We've kind of figured out our style with the music. We like very cinematic, dramatic, but it's more than just like the type of music. Like, I need to know that there's certain rises and falls in the song. So I have all this audio that's telling their story. I need to make sure that it's not competing with the audio, so it has to have like do this throughout.
So editing has been a stress point here. Is there anything else that has been like a major hiccup that over time working together you guys have like had to work through where you've made a separation?
I think like the shooting day goes pretty smooth, but there are like, it's usually in the beginning of
just getting ready
for the wedding day. It like stresses me out because
making sure everything's like charged
and like we got to be there on time, but not more than on time. I like to get there like an hour and a half before it starts, and if we're not there, then I start freaking out. So. And he doesn't.
You like to be relaxed wedding day? Or
yes. Once I get there, I want to be able to like relax, walk around, see the couple before we're like
start developing
instead of just like showing up
like,
and shooting. You know, so it's a lot more involved, and I get mad when he doesn't get as anxious as I do.
Will you be more stressed out, please?
That's exactly what it is. Because I'm like, hey, it's fine, we got this, but that's not what she wants to hear. She wants me to be like, yeah, let's go. We're gonna be late. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I wonder if I pretended to be more stressed out than she is, if she would be like, if the roles would reverse, she'd be like, it's okay, it's okay.
We're fine.
So do you guys have any separation to like your personal life and your work life, or is there boundaries that you've created that you're like, we're not going to talk about it on Friday nights, or because I feel like conversationally, obviously it's really a part of your lives, but how do you find that separation between your personal life and then your work life together?
It's hard. Yeah. I mean, because
I think for me,
it is a huge part of our lives.
It's enjoyable to talk about sometimes, like depending on the situation. So it's, we have 2 kids, and so when it's family time, we don't really talk work because it's about them. But when it's the 2 of us, I feel like it is a lot more like on our mind because it is very much integrated into what we do together.
Do you feel like for couples who maybe want to get into business together that there is initial things that they need to like communicate through before they kind of jump into that journey? Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think you should, because not everybody can work well with your mate.
And it's okay if you can.
Right.
No, that's totally okay. It's totally okay.
You guys are a unique blend.
Yes.
Yeah, we have our moments, but I think that getting into business with any sort of family member or relative or somebody you're close to, like you have to kind of have those boundaries and know. But I think because our personalities are different enough, like the things that need to be similar are similar, but the stuff that needs to be different is like perfect. So it helps kind of balance that out. And she's the boss, so I
get that vibe.
She runs everything, and I just do what she tells me to do, and everything works well as long as I do that.
I think 2 couples should like really figure out why they want to do it together, because if it's just strictly, we want to have a super successful business and make lots of money, that may cause a lot more contention than if it's like creatively something that you both love and have fun doing together already, then it's going to be an easier transition to make it more of a career.
So tell me a little bit about equipment, man. What are you like really into? Do you have any new equipment that you're just like so passionate about, or is there anything you have your eye on that you're like, that's next?
I think it's always been not necessarily the camera. I mean, obviously the camera is important, but it's always like the accessories, like how to stabilize the camera. Like how to create smooth movement with the camera has always been the holy grail, I think. Because you can get a camera, and I think even for us, like in the beginning, we got really nice cameras, but then it's like, well, it's more than just the camera, So just how to stabilize it. So we use a lot of. Back in the day, we used to use like sliders and stuff, but now we use more like motorized gimbals, and the drones are super popular with our clients right now. But I think one of our most important pieces of equipment is audio, like capturing audio. That's, I think, something that people who are just starting out in video forget, that the audio,
like it's better sound good.
Yes.
No, it's so important. Like when you're
and especially wedding day, there's so much noise and people and like all of that it really drowns out some of the like sentiment.
You can have a video that looks amazing, but if it has bad audio, your quality level instantly drops.
And what about productivity apps? Is there anything that you guys are using, applications or like structurally, like keeping track of your client workflow, that has been beneficial for your business?
I use HoneyBook.
Okay.
Which I love. It just keeps everything right there.
Nice and
Yeah, because before we were using PayPal and Excel and
you were like
everything
multiple
was
things,
like
yeah.
PDF contracts or DocuSign, you know, but it was like all over the place. But now it's like,
So this is the part where I lost all video footage and my camera went, but we got a lot. So I hope you enjoyed hearing from them. You can find them at Reve Films on Instagram, and you can find them at revefilms.com at their website. And go ahead and reach out. Tell them you saw this video and what you learned from it. So click subscribe and get your notifications from the little bell below. And I hope you stay in tune for next week's videos.